I walked out of lockup with station dust in my throat and a number stamped on my wrist, an account balance that said I owed a year of my life to forms in triplicate. The guard handed me a sack with a bent toothbrush and a shirt that used to be white. I stepped through the airlock into the public ring of New Carthage and tasted fried algae, old oil, and the metallic bite of the docking spokes. Home, if you squinted. I had a plan, and it fit inside 3 words: take it back. Most folks pictured New Carthage as a wheel of light grazing the night above an orange gas giant. I saw a casino with a city welded on. 3 arcologies fused at the hub, each trying to outshine the others: the Pearl, the Prism, the Lyre. The Triune Syndicate ran them. The gamblers called the trio the Triple Crown. All the carpets and neon, the gravity plates and comet-polished stone, under all of it lived one vault. The Triune Vault. Every crown fed it. One creature watched it. Vherix was Valen, angles and mirrored carapace, eyes like wet chrome. He bought politicians and oxygen with equal boredom. He owned my past. He owned Mara. Mara and I had once been an argument that learned to speak in 2 voices. We built cons that sounded like honest work and honest work that looked like cons. Then I reached too far, greed or fatigue, take your pick. Vherix dangled a job, I grabbed, and when it burned, Mara stepped back while security walked me through a door. So when I say take it back, I mean the year and the breathing room and the dignity. I mean the money Vherix measured people with like they were nails in a jar. I mean taking it so artfully he'd spend the rest of his orbit pretending he didn't hear it in the walls at night. I found Sarah Quill at a noodle stall no one with credit would touch, wiping condensation off a glass with a rag that had outlived its owner. She looked me over with the lazy warmth of a cat watching a laser dot. "You're late," she said. "I am right on time," I said. They had to process me into freedom. Sarah was a tactician, the kind who could smile while building geometry around a moving target. Blunt bob at the jaw. A laugh you had to earn. "How much?" she asked. 800 million, I said. Give or take whatever the gamblers gift them on fight night. One blink. And you want to knock on Vherix's door. I want to take his floor. She set the glass down. You're not joking. Not today. She glanced up at the planet filling the skylight, storm bands crawling like old scars. We will need backs. We will need eyes. We will need dumb luck and smart hands. We will need family, I said. She shook her head, smiling despite herself. You and your poetry. We walked the ring while I told her what I knew: the shared vault under the hub, Thales class sensors tuned to heat and motion, a spiral lock that listened to code words and heartbeat, the station's rented paramilitary shield who swept rich messes beneath richer carpets. On fight night, the vault would be heavy, 2 gene-printed warriors beating reputations together while the belt tuned in and remembered what fate felt like. Crowd panic is a tool, Sarah said. Noise covers the cut. We will make noise, I said. But the trick isn't the cut. It's the camera. She lifted a brow. We build a perfect copy of the Triune Vault, I said. Record exactly what we want them to see. When it matters, we splice our film into their eyes. Make Vherix watch a lie he can't stop. Her smile sharpened. You kept busy in there. I had time to think. And time to imagine Mara watching you get dragged. We let her name live in the air. The gravity wheels thrummed through the plates. That too. We started with Cade. You do not touch the Triune without a financier with both money and grudges. Cade had stacks of both. He met us in a greenhouse where clone citrus hung like little suns and the air smelled alive. His hair had gone silver, but his hands still drew slow, certain shapes in the air, folding an invisible map. I told Vherix I was done, Cade said. He told me the same. He peeled a leaf apart. He doesn't understand that ends are edges. He took your license, I said. Filled your permits with delays and your air with fines. He made me small, Cade said softly. Help us, Sarah said, and we'll make him feel smaller. For a night. He listened as we laid it out. Sarah spun projections on greenhouse glass, fight night shuttle patterns, foot traffic cycles in the hub, shield staging bay plugged to the spokes like a mushroom cap. He didn't ask if it was possible. He asked who would die. No one, I said. If we do it right. He accepted the lie for what it was, a promise we would try. Cade gave us credit and cover. He also gave us a name that tasted like a dare, Soul Bloom. Soul was old enough to remember the first time humans gambled under station lights. A face that had learned to lie and then learned to apologize. The sort Vherix's floor chiefs trusted because they could count his tells. You're using me as bait, he said when we handed him credentials for a visiting magnate from the Arcadian belt, complete with a nervous condition and a case that would whine if jostled. You're a lure, Sarah said. Bait doesn't talk back. He patted his stomach. A lure then. Make me sparkle. We found Bashir 9 in a machine shop where sparks fell like slow rain. He was more machine now. Filaments under his skin tracked his pulse in pale light. He didn't smile, but his eyes warmed. I heard they let you out, he said. I heard you kept my tools, I said. I keep everything, he said, handing me a small black monolith wrapped in foil. What do you want to turn off? Only the things that make New Carthage polite, I said. Not the things that keep it alive. He grunted, Bashir for respect. We will give her a little eclipse. 90 seconds. 100 if you like fires. 90's fine, I said. We will use the dark to cut a scene where there isn't one. Liv Anders met us in a booth with a failing privacy field. She could hear a whisper through a reactor housing and make it sound like a lullaby. Her fingers brought up camera arcs, motion grids, thermal fields, a river of surveillance. Each one pulsed with a timing signature she'd memorized because it existed. You're asking me to blind a god, she said. For a minute, I said. We will show him a picture of himself and walk out while he admires the composition. She swore like a marine and pushed hair from her face. I will need a week in the feeds, she said. And an inside Hummer. Frank, I said. Dealing the pearl. Likes us more than his job. Frank was tall and pale and wore his tie like a bruise. He'd been friendly before it fell apart. He watched me sit with a caution that wasn't quite fear. I have a daughter now, he said. Then you understand the value of a future, I said. He stroked the edge of a deck as if the cards could answer. You'll burn half the station, he said. I will get blamed. We're not burning anything, Sarah said. We're making a space and filling it. He really looked at me then. Is this about Mara? It's about not letting men like Vherix own the story, I said. About showing the younger me I am still someone worth being. He sighed. I will keep the line moving, he said. If my name ends up on a wall, I will haunt you. You'll be alive to do it, I said. That's the deal. Kestrel arrived last. She unfolded from a courier crate like a trick of light, every joint fluent in low G angles. She smiled with half her mouth. Do I get to climb? She asked. You get to disappear, Sarah said. In a cart. In a shaft. Inside our good graces if you do not stop our hearts. Kestrel saluted and looked up at the spokes, ribs of a sleeping beast. I like tight spaces, she said. They tell the truth about how big you're not. We built a vault in a rented cargo bay lined with noise-canceling foam and bad intentions. Kate's people smuggled schematics in the edges of contracts and the footnotes of insurance clauses. Liv spent 3 days inside Triune maintenance crawlspaces listening to locks breathe. She came back with their heartbeat. We matched it, cylinder for cylinder, light for light. When it looked perfect, we scuffed the corners and cracked a tile. We rehearsed until Kestrel could spin through the elevator throat, splay fingers on a magnetized plate, and hold herself off a laser grid like a dancer pausing between notes. We rehearsed until Lynn, hands like rain, could lift a floor manager's ID without bending the fabric. We rehearsed until Sol could sweat on cue and complain in a Magnate-S accent about service on a station where the oxygen tasted sweeter than old Earth-S air. I didn't rehearse being caught. You can practice grace and timing. You can't practice humiliation. You can only remember it. Fight night dawned, New Carthage gleamed like a coin. The ringways swelled, voices rose in waves that shook the signs. Hawkers sold knockoff patches and counterfeit dreams. The station ran hot and no one minded. Cade's limo set Sol down under the pearl's crystal spines where water ran like thin veils. He clutched his humming case as if it held his heart. Doorman bowed to his title. He flinched, perfectly, when a busker clashed a cymbal. Sarah and I watched from the mezzanine, ears humming with Liv's whisper count as she slid between camera cycles in a closet that wasn't hers but would be by the time she left. Bashir sat 3 levels down on a bench made of recycled freight struts, eyes on a calibration screen only he could see. Kestrel rode a linen cart that stank of lemon and detergent, folded small and patient. Frank dealt cards he didn't love to people he didn't like and kept the feeders moving. Lynn chatted up the floor manager about a man in a green coat who laughed at the wrong time and needed escorting. As the manager turned, Lynn's hand rose like an afterthought, the ID chain kissing his palm. "Elevator access is live," Liv murmured. I could hear her smile. The lock hums like it's drunk. We rode a service lift into the cool lungs of the station. The walls felt like old ships, grooved by men who'd carried too much and expected less. The Triune Vault waited ahead, a sealed heart under 3 crowns. The door was a metal iris that bloomed for code and pulse, and arrogance. "Last chance to run," Sarah said as a pair of SHIELD officers strolled past, visors blank, hands lax. We could take Cade's credit and go teach someplace that still thinks cards are rectangles. "I like circles," I said. All the way back around. The fight above hit crescendo. The crowd became one throat. Liv whispered, the vault corridor cameras blinked from watching us to watching our rehearsed ghosts in the fake vault. Our movie took the stage. Bashir's monolith hummed, and every polite machine on New Carthage went blind. The blackout wasn't night. It was a held breath. The ring lights died. Signage dimmed to afterglow. The floor hummed where gravity's corrections fell away. On the concourse, people gasped and laughed, voices in a cave, until the generators rolled in with a heavy thump. In the scene between breath and heartbeat, Kestrel slipped from the cart and ran her hands along magnet tiles, legs tucked so lasers skimmed her calves. She had cut her hand earlier to remember how to hesitate. It didn't shake. She reached the mirrored hatch, popped it, and let Sarah's charge kiss the inner lock. Firefly sparks. A cough. "Open." "Door 1, Kestrel whispered. "Door 2, Bashir said, and a shaped pulse undid the vault's confusion without breaking its bones. The iris unfurled like a flower, profane and beautiful. Upstairs, Sol sweated makeup and made sure a floor chief watched him watching himself while Liv bled their camera river into a new bed. On their monitors, the vault door stayed shut. When Sarah told me to breathe, I realized I had been holding air like it was contraband. We stepped inside. Ozone and ink. The cache was credit chips banded in bricks, enough to nudge economies. Security veins pulsed in the walls, Liv stroked them compliant from her stolen chair. "Hello," Darling, Sarah told the room, not sentimental, ritual. She loved puzzles the way skaters love ice. While everything moved, nothing could touch her. We loaded bags. 800 million doesn't weigh anything, it insists. My shoulders were fine. My throat burned. At the top of the Triune, someone handed Vherix a phone. He held it between two fingers like it might stain him. He listened to a voice that was Sarah's and wasn't the harmonizer scrubbed as clean, telling him the vault was compromised, that a device would turn his money to slag if he didn't follow instructions, that a bag team would come and he should let them move the treasure to a secure staging bay for vetting in return. We told him, because we wanted him to feel like he was still giving orders. Vherix believed in two things, reputation and control. He traded Mara for one and me for the other. I knew which he'd pick tonight. Liv sent a pulse. On his monitors, the vault door opened to reveal the small packet we'd planted in the fake vault earlier, plastered with hazard stamps and Bashir's best convincing mess. Sarah whispered the words gods prefer, "You're still in charge." He made the call. Shield would be coming. I walked into a hallway I had no right to be in and let a guard see me. He was a professional, arm, lift, chair, cuffs in front. Two lieutenants watched with the careful politeness of men who respected jackets. The cameras showed a man who used to be someone, making a mistake. "Tell him I am sorry," I said mildly. "Tell him I meant to steal his floor, but the carpet distracted me." The lieutenant didn't blink. Perfect. The words weren't for him. Sarah stayed in my ear, light as dust. The bags were loaded. The inner door breathed. The splice held. Shield arrived like thunder. Boots hit the hub in a rhythm meant to soothe the wealthy and warn the rest. Matte suits, full visors, doctrine in their stride. They cut through, dropped down the service throat, and into the sanctum, all measured aggression, rehearsed calm. On the monitors, Shield faced the vault. On the monitors, they bagged chips, tagged evidence, murmured into radio darkness. Perfect on the screens. Vherix entered without looking at me. He smelled like a cold room and cleaned metal. His silhouette cut the light. "You," he said to the lieutenant. "Why is air wasted on this man?" "He insisted on your presence, sir." "That has always been his flaw," Vherix said. "To me, human, did you believe you could touch my heart twice?" "Only once," I said. "The second time is for the one who taught me not to touch hot things." He looked at the screens, then at me like he was trying to recall if I had ever mattered. A door opened behind him. Mara walked in without hesitation. I had prepared for the sight of her the way I prepared for doors that do not open until they do. I had rehearsed my face until it was a mask. None of it helped. Simple station black. A small pin at her collar I had given her once, never returned. Eyes steady. Vherix liked steady. "That is my past," he said. "I keep it on a leash in case it bites." Mara's glance flickered at my cuffs. "You look thinner." "The food was honest," I said. "It didn't lie about itself." Sarah hissed in my ear. "Stay on schedule." Vherix was waiting for me to ask. He wanted the shape of forgiveness so he could deny it and feel large. "Choose," I said, and watched the word land. "Say it out loud." "The person or the money?" His eyes narrowed, angry to be made to perform. "You mistake theater for truth," he said. "Miss Arlen is an adequate consultant. And an adequate suit for public days. Money is a language I speak to stars with." Mara didn't flinch. She had known his answer before he opened his mouth. It hurt in a place that didn't belong to him. "I thought so," I said. On the monitors, Shield finished bagging the last of it and turned as one toward the camera. Vherix leaned forward. Every choice we'd made moved under his carapace, looking for a nerve. Sarah whispered 3 words. Time to leave. Shield filed out with the bags. In the corridor, cameras caught their shapes. In the lift, their reflections. On the concourse, their helmets. The bags went into an armored van painted with trust and institutional promise. It rolled through Gate 7 toward the staging bay. Vherix exhaled, trading one fear for a smaller one. He turned back to me, happy to remember there was something in the room to dominate. He signaled. The lieutenant stepped forward. This was the moment, not the opening door, not the spliced feed. This. Because what you steal and what you keep aren't the same weight. Upstairs, Sol flicked lint from a cuff and said something cutting about service on a high day. It kept the floor chief rooted where we needed him. Downstairs, Liv slid one last splice into place. The river recommitted to truth. Shield stopped the van at the outer check and opened the bags. They found flyers. Printed ads for the Triple Crown's new season. Paper promises, good at fluttering. Nothing worth 800 million. The lieutenant's report sounded wrong in his own ear. Not panic, confusion. Confusion is a hole you can throw a room into. Vherix went absolutely still. His kind are beautiful when they rage, they turn into sculptures. He stared at the monitors and in that instant, because we showed him, understood that the bag team had been us. He rewound in his head, hunting a scene that didn't exist. Then he turned to me like an old planet rotating toward a forgotten sun. Where, he said, soft as a knife, did you put it? Where you told me to, I said. Out with Shield. He looked to Mara. She didn't give him a map. That was my last small, cowardly satisfaction. It had to be enough. We had left long before the van. Kestrel and Sarah wore the suits and the weight. Lynn and the Mallow siblings shouldered bags to a service lift Kate's people had condemned on paper and resurrected in steel. It rose into a ventilation shaft the size of a monastery hall and slid open to a back corridor that shared a wall with the Shield staging area. When real Shield jogged toward the vault, our Shield walked out another door with what they'd come to protect. The bags went onto a maintenance sled designed to look like boredom. During the blackout, the sled drifted into the spokes transit line and became a stored image by the time the lights returned, a ghost in a carbon river. By the time Vherix chose a direction that wouldn't embarrass him, Kate's pilots had the sled magnetized to his private freighter's hull. By the time he remembered private staging areas are private until they aren't, his airspace was empty. By the time he looked at me and saw not a threat but a shape that reminded him of hunger, the gulf was measured. He stepped close. Breath fogged between us. Do you believe, he asked, that this makes you human? I think it proves it, I said. We made a picture and made you look. Then we stepped through it. His gesture stalled. Mara spoke first. He did what we would have, she said. Use the camera, the crowd, your need to be seen. She had always been fair. Cruel, clean fairness. Vherix finally turned fully to her. You are useless to me if you admire thieves. I am useless to you if I do not admire art, she said. I heard the tiniest wobble under the steady line. The decision had been made long ago, only the echo was new. He gestured again. The lieutenant hit me, not hard. Enough to end the scene. I let the pain be an anchor, not a storm. Sarah's smile returned to my ear. Couple of hours, you'll be a myth, she said. Right now you're a man in a chair. Feels accurate, I said. They booked me for parole violation. Paperwork crisp as winter air. Vherix didn't bring charges, he didn't like admitting losses. He let the station do his filing. Men like him never enjoy being seen obeying rules. They gave me a window over the gas giant while they tallied my time. A white storm churned the way it had since we learned to count. Somewhere on the hull, a freighter with Cade's signature slipped into a lane. Somewhere in a maintenance shed, a mountain of chips sat under a tarp like trash. Liv would scrub our final footprints. Bashir would melt the monolith into an innocuous plate for some kid's racer. I thought about Mara. When I walked out again, New Carthage looked normal, which meant vendors were already selling Triune Vault heist memorabilia that mocked the thing it celebrated. Sarah leaned on a railing, watching ice garden geysers arc and fall in glittering columns. The Mallow twins argued about nothing. Lynn practiced stealing a cap off an empty bottle with his elbow. Bashir had a new filament scar and touched it like a worry bead. Cade joined last, looking lighter. Wealth does that if you remember it's a tool and not a mirror. Where's Mara? Sarah asked, curious, not pitying. Getting free, I said. I hope. Want me to find her? Liv asked, as if she already found 3 ways. No, I said. If she wants me, she'll come. We're all good at doors. We stood there, criminals, engineers, liars, and people who could thread a needle in a hurricane, letting water sounds cover the tired. Shield heavies drifted at the crowd's edge, bored. One of them let his gaze slide past me and away. We're all background until we're not. There's a story they tell about New Carthage now. Loud in bars. Quiet in rooms with expensive chairs. They say that on fight night, when the station hiccuped and the lights went low, a crew turned a camera into a compass and made an alien king look the wrong way. They say 800 million sighed out an airlock and vanished. They say the Triune doubled security and tripled pride. They say Vherix sleeps fine. I do not care which pieces are true. I care that on a wheel of light over a world big enough to swallow us without noticing, we drew a circle and stepped through. We were small. We were precise. We gave the impossible edges. The last geyser fell back into its pool, the garden lights slid to night mode. Sarah flicked crumbs from the air with her fingers. What do you call a job like that? She asked no one in particular. I watched the arcs fade until the surface went still. Art, I said, and let the word hang in the humid air like a coin tossed into a fountain, bright until it sank.